Upper Iowa's coming off a win at the University of Mary last weekend, a game in which the Peacocks rolled up 515 yards of offense. This week on the docket, it's a home game against Minnesota-Crookston. Joining me right now is Upper Iowa play-by-play voice, Joe Stasi. And Joe, before we talk about the Golden Eagles, want to reflect on last week's game. Maybe surprising, the Peacocks were off to a 2-0 start this year.
Yeah, there's no question, and once again, Elwin, thanks for having me on representing Upper Iowa University. I know that talking with the folks on the road this week and touching base with Howie Thompson and the rest of the athletic staff, Brock Wissmiller, David Miller, they certainly appreciate your efforts. So thanks for giving Upper Iowa the recognition that it so deserves, being the only NCAA Division II school in the state of Iowa. But yeah, you lose 28 seniors last year. I don't know how many more times I can say that. You lose 28 seniors, 8 of them all conference players, 6 of them going to be in the Upper Iowa Hall of Fame. 3 of them are going to be in the NSIC, Northern Sun Intercollegiate Conference Hall of Fame at some point. Cole Jaskey, Derek Giesking, just to mention a few, Chris Smith. These guys were all huge players for Upper Iowa's first recruiting class last year. 2 back-to-back winning seasons in a row, 6-5, 6-5. That's the first time that happened in 50 years. It's well chronicled. You know that. Our listeners, a great deal of them know that. But so we come into the preseason this year without a quarterback, without running backs, without wide receivers, and without an offensive line. So, we didn't know what was going to happen. And these kids have stepped up and have ripped off 2 wins in a row over opponents in the NSIC North. First off, 17-6. We talked about that last week against Northern State at Harms-Eischeid, and then last week on the road, 34-16 at the University of Mary, way up in Bismarck. And Upper Iowa started off slow, and their defense was the mainstay throughout the game, and ended up winning 34-16.
Well, this week, the Golden Eagles come to Harms-Eischeid Stadium for a 6 o'clock start. I understand, Joe, that on paper, this is one of those games that Upper Iowa should win. But it's a dangerous program, hungry to get a win against the Peacocks, because I understand it's never happened.
That's right, and I'd have to check my numbers, but it's 7 or 8 and University of Minnesota-Crookston, way up there north, about 75, 80 miles south of the Canadian border. They're a dangerous team. They're 0-2. They just lost to University of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, who happens to be ranked 17th in the country. They'll probably keep that ranking. And I think University of Sioux Falls might have been overlooking University Minnesota-Crookston. And it was 28-21 at halftime. University of Sioux Falls pulled away in the second half in that NCAA Division II contest, but nothing came easy for them. It was a dogfight. University of Minnesota-Crookston has a bunch of young players, physical players, and they have the right coaching staff in place. And if you talk with Tom Shea, he'll tell you that it reminds him of what Upper Iowa was 4 years ago. So University of Minnesota-Crookston definitely has something to play for. It's a game on their schedule. They think they can win, and it's going to be a lot of fun this Saturday night at Harms-Eischeid Stadium on campus at Upper Iowa University. And you asked me about the University of Mary game and just some key performers. Dimitri Morales continues to impress. He piled up 515 yards, 446 of it passing, and some of his wide receivers that have stepped up. Iowa kid, Jared Edmonds, 7 catches for 108 yards. Trey McTaggart from West Delaware, 9 catches for 158 yards. Jared Edmonds pulled in 3 touchdown passes in the game, some of them very acrobatic. Upper Iowa's offense, led by this Dimitri Morales, is getting a lot of help from guys up front. And almost all of our offensive line, they're Iowa kids. Brian Steffesmeyer is a kid from Dyersville. You have Wayne Dorsher. He is a kid from Bloomfield, Iowa. At center, Dalton Late from West Union, Iowa. Bob and Renee's boy played at North Fayette up there in Valley. Quentin Taylor is a kid from Atkins, Iowa. It's just so many Iowa kids. Vinny O'Deffer in the backfield. Alex Van Gerpen running the ball. Joe McCaffrey from North Liberty. Ryan Parmley, we're going to get him sometime this week, Elwin. He was the Shrine Bowl MVP and state champion type wrestler in high school. He's going to wrestle at Upper Iowa. He's from Delhi. Just all kinds of Iowa kids contributing on both sides of the football. We're so proud of these Iowa kids that have stepped up and made a big impact and have started off the season for Upper Iowa on a positive note.
Joe, I want to play the what-if game here for just a moment before we wrap it up today. If the Peacocks were to go to 3-0, I know their confidence level is high right now, being an unexpected 2-0, but what would a victory do for the confidence level of this Upper Iowa team if they were to pull out a win against Minnesota-Crookston on Saturday?
Well, again, I mentioned a lot of my offensive players on the defensive side of the ball. When you talk about confidence, that's what this defensive team just spews out. You've got a bunch of Iowa kids there. Tate Thompson had 2 picks in the secondary for us. Cole Stephen, West Delaware kid at linebacker. Zach Reeves from Iowa City. Javel Rollins from Milwaukee happens to be a 6'2", 285-pound defensive lineman. I think he's a D1 type of player. He's an All-American. And then the week 1 NSIC player of the week, Alex Wall, a 6'2", 235-pound redshirt senior middle linebacker. They give us the confidence. So we go 3-0. If we beat Crooks, they're not going to roll over for us. Then we take on the University of Minnesota Duluth at Duluth, and then we host Minnesota State Mankato, the number 8 and the number 1 team in the United States of America in NCAA Division II. So it's important to go 3-0 because there are 2 games that are going to really test Upper Iowa. We haven't had to face adversity during a game yet, and I know that it's either going to come up this week and then certainly in week 4 when we head to Minnesota Duluth.
That game against Minnesota-Crookston comes up on Saturday night, a 6 o'clock kickoff at Arms Highside Stadium in Fayette. Pre-game coverage starts at 5:30 on AM 9.